Have you always wanted a lens that has great versatility and can handle almost anything you throw at it? A lens that's capable of taking exceptionally zoomed in shots, while at the same time being wide enough to shoot amazing landscape photographs. A lens that can be used for shooting some really tight portraits, while still being adept at capturing the macro world in all its glory. Then look no further than the Tamron 16-300mm Di2 VC PZD lens equipped with macro capabilities. Along with the 18.x zoom range, the Tamron 16-300mm lens also comes with vibration compensation as well as an excellent piezo drive motor that seems to be a major upgrade from all its previous iterations. The build's quality is top-notch, and it almost felt like I was holding a very expensive lens. And the cap provided to cover the bottom mount is also pretty good, and it has quality written all over it. I mean, it just feels very good and very smooth. And the metal mount is a great addition, and it contributes to the overall sturdiness of the lens, making it less prone to break-offs or chip-offs in case you drop the lens. That's not to say that you should drop it, but it's a very good addition, I would say. The 16-300mm lens also carries a similar locking mechanism as seen with the 18-270mm lens earlier. Once locked, the lens ensures that the lens does not zoom in. This is especially handy when you're traveling or if you have to keep the lens within a bag that's probably going to hang upside down. Remove the lock and the lens will once again resume its butter smooth motion. This is the 16-300mm. It's bigger than the 18-55mm over here, but at the same time it's smaller than the 55-250mm lens. This is a size comparison with all the lenses blown out to their maximum extent. And clearly there's no competition over here. And the Tamron 16-300mm lens is the tallest, and we would even go as far as to say that it's the most gorgeous looking out of the three lenses. This video is being shot at 300mm along with the help of a tripod. And now we're down to 200mm and 200mm, down to 70, 50, 35, and yes, finally the 16mm ultra wide angle. This lens also has full-time manual focusing along with the autofocus, which means I can either choose to autofocus like this or I can go for manual focusing by deliberately blurring the foreground or bringing the foreground into focus. I can override the autofocus, and that's actually pretty neat. Not all the lenses offer that feature. It's also neat while you're filming something and the autofocus is not exactly doing what you want it to. So it's pretty handy at that times. For example, in this situation, it's focusing on the woods, but I deliberately wanted to focus on the foreground. So I can override the autofocus by manual focusing like this to get a crisp shot of whatever I want. It's a pretty nifty feature, and I hope all the manufacturers actually include these kind of features into their lenses. And also the motor is actually pretty quiet and pretty fast as well. In the video it might seem like it's hunting for focus, but in actuality it's actually pretty fast. Considering the lighting conditions present right now, this lens is pretty fast for an aperture of 3.5. I'll let you enjoy the sample images while I go on about the pros, cons, and specifications as well as other features of the lens. And I hope you'll enjoy my sample images and tolerate my jibber-jabber. The lens comprises of 12 groups and 16 elements, which is down from the 13 groups and 18 elements previously found in the 18-270mm Tamron lens. One might wonder, what good can come from decreasing the number of groups and the number of elements? But there are a lot of advantages. For example, lesser elements mean lesser diffraction and lesser lens flare. So this is just one advantage to point out from the many. The difference between a 16mm lens and an 18mm lens might not look like much in paper, but in actuality, the difference is actually pretty noticeable, as you can see in the images. On the left you have the 16mm image, while on the right you have the 18mm one. Pretty noticeable difference, right? The image quality of the lens is almost as good as the 18-55 and the 55-250mm kit lenses, but at the same time it provides the convenience of not having to change lenses frequently. The telephoto image quality is a little bit on the softer side, but it's nothing unmanageable. By stopping the aperture down to f/8, the lens produces some pretty sharp images. Available for the price of $600 or close to 35,000 Indian rupees, there's not much to complain about the lens, but that's not to say that it does not have any shortcomings. There is slight chromatic aberration at the telephoto end, while there's a slight amount of distortion at the wide angle, but the distortion is pretty easily correctable. It also has some amount of vignetting in the corners, but as I mentioned in my previous video, vignetting is all down to preferences, and not to mention that it can be pretty easily fixed with Lightroom or Photoshop. At the price point, the lens offers amazing value for money. It's also a great walk-around lens and can also be used as a casual lens by amateurs who don't want to invest in multiple lenses or by those who don't like changing lenses frequently. To summarize it, this lens gets a green signal from our end. Its astonishing zoom range and flexibility and the ability to take almost any type of shot puts it on top of our recommendation list. The wide open apertures from 3.5 to 6.3 may not be that impressive, but then again the combination of kit lenses would still offer you the same range. So I would say that's not a positive or a negative. We would like to thank Tamron and Vivek Infocom for being super generous in handing us these lenses. We'll leave the links and their contact information in the description down below. Please do check them out. If you found this video helpful, please do give us a like and subscribe, that really helps. Thank you guys, have a good one and happy clicking.